At what point were you um, given any idea as to what the makeup, and we're talking you being at the age of 10, 11 at this point, if you're speaking from 85 to 95, 96. So moving
No, no,
along.
no,
No?
no. So I'm gonna keep you on the timeline. All right. So the timeline from us moving from Baltimore, I was 5, and my birthday is in September. So we talking about late in the year, right? So from me moving from Baltimore down to Virginia, you know, I'm 5, and then we move. We only stay in Pineville like, you know, months, not too long. And from us being on the land, from maximum before we go back up to Baltimore, it was between me being 5 to 7, right? So when we came back, I'm 7 because we didn't stay, like a long time in Baltimore. You know, it
Okay.
wasn't like years.
Bring me,
Like when we went
so,
back.
so as you're bringing me up to speed, tell me about 1995. Assuming that 95, was an interesting year. You being
95, I was 10,
mhm.
and we were living up in Richmond.
Okay.
So
How
I
did
just
how did you move, and was it through the same means, like the same um, practically, the living situation, how your father had to work, that whole situation there. That practically is what made you move your family to Richmond at your age of 10, right?
so well when we moved back to Richmond, was earlier than that.
Mm.
We had after we found out that we could not get our home back, when we came back from Baltimore, we we went back to Richmond. Well, we went into Richmond, and I was going into being 8. So from there, we stayed in hotels at the time, for a while, and both my parents, they worked. My father would work night, my mother worked during the daytime, until they could find place for us to stay. So we ended up living on the east end of um Richmond. So from I was about 8 years old when we moved on there to the east end of Richmond, and we've been over there from the time I was 8 all the way up until I was about 13. Yeah, about 13. So we're talking. Yeah, so that's when
From 8 to
yes.
13 is 5 years, so 5 years. So what happened at 13?
Well, 13 we moved from where we was at, because we was living closer to the we was out in Mechanicsville, actually, and we moved a little bit away from Mechanicsville, closer to 9 Mile Road, um when I turned 13, and we just like got into a bigger house, under the when I was 13, and alhamdulillah, everything was looking a lot better, from that
Okay.
point.
Before we go any further, I want you to try and give me an idea as to what your knowledge of the makeup of the TMOA Yelani Islam situation, like what was your idea at that age of 13? Here you are, moved there, you had a home, your grandmother got sick, you had to go back and look after her. May Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, reward you all for that. She passed on, you took care of her affairs, and then you come back and you find, what it is that you found, to where now you've transitioned, you've gone all the way to this 13. What was the main, what did you consider the main point of that to have been?
Well, with that, it was at that point, as me being a lot older, at that point already now, I was able to fully comprehend and understand a lot more. So, we found out more. Well, I found out more about a lot that happened back then. As far as the family, why they moved in, who was pushing them to move into our home, and why we was, denied to come back onto the land and move. It was told to us that, they had issues with, my father and everything,
and took his home basically.
Yeah.
Right, so that they could have somebody who they felt to be more loyal to their cause to move into his house. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. And with all the siblings that you had, your parents involved, when you found out, when you raised the alarm like this is what happened, and you were sure, or when you at least, brought up the concern, what did they do to you? Or what was the response you got, I should say? What response?
Well, for me, I didn't respond to anything.
No, what I'm saying is when you found out that this is what happened, you said something to somebody, right? Or to a couple of family members, right?
No, I didn't really say anything.
You didn't say anything, you let it go.
Yeah.
All right. Now, looking back, obviously, and by the way, this is possibly one of, the longevity aspects of it, saying or acting upon the fact that it's all to be let go. Yes, we are human beings and we can forget, and we can also, have in our smallest sense to say, what, this is absolutely forgiven and we will completely let it go. But guess what? The one who is all in command of his decree, indeed, he still will judge on this. This is still something in which we deferred. We defer on this. We don't agree that what you did was correct. So, we already say, and this is another thing, it's unacceptable, so why are you accepting it? Is the next question we should be asking, but we don't do that. We'll repeat it's unacceptable, 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 but in the action, we actually are accepting it. So it's like, which one are you going to do? But to make a long story short, you kept quiet about the fact that you found out the real realities. You didn't take for granted that anyone else of your siblings, none of your brothers knew any different, right? Like they didn't know the truth.
Well, no, they knew the truth.
They knew the truth
about it.
Because everybody's older than you. Have enough older than you, and I don't mean to push back. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is that despite it was just more than you, right? It was really us, your brothers. You and your brothers found out the truth of how you all home was confiscated by the people who were living there and people who were pushing them from not even there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, did you and your brothers continue to be involved in the function? Or like in events, right? So you kept going, and so did you go to the New York land besides the North Carolina lands as well?
No, the only only lands that I had ever been to was this be while I'm young. We went to the Virginia land. We started going to the Red House land, and then we went to the started going to South Carolina land. And one year we actually was going to the land out there in Atlanta,
the Georgia land. Right.
So it was kind of funny because we was going there for the Eid one time, and we made it up there, and all of a sudden, we ended up turning back, and we was kind of wondering why we just drove up there for nothing, and it was told that my father was told that he had to ask permission to come up there. So we had to turn back, and we was like, seriously?
Okay.
So,
that's very interesting. And you're talking by then, we're talking late 90s, right?
Yeah, this is...
Good. I'm trying, as you can see, I'm trying to get it closer and closer to the 2000s. And I think we will find a very dynamic, discovery there. But we will get back to it. This mystical, spiritual encountering and...
see,
accounting of it. The accounting of it itself, and I don't mean to, interrupt on a regular basis pertaining to, I want to make sure that the key elements are noticeable here. The reason, and the lessons to learn behind those reasons and those rationales. But, we will revisit the whole thing, and then we're going to see that there are definitely aspects here that